Next general step, as far as the home buying process goes, after you've determined your monthly budget, and Mark helps figure out, what the total is, then we start looking at houses. I recommend a lot of online research you can click through. Don't get too excited about what you see online because it's very rarely what you see in person. But the next step is to find that budget range and then start looking at houses. And at the beginning, we'll probably look at houses that you will never buy, but it's part of the education of understanding what's available, doing some community research search, and I call it the discovery phase of the house buying process. So we can take all of your criteria and let's go nuts with your wish list, and then we end up narrowing down price-wise, neighborhood, different areas, and finding your sweet spot. And then we take that sweet spot and laser focus on it when we find it. Another thing, when you're looking at houses online, you can't smell them. We have to go inside the house. The sniff test, I think, is really, really important. It's an easy way that I've found to see if a house is worthy of your attention or not. And keep in mind also that houses are staged. Nobody lives there in the way that they are staged. So when we go to houses, I'm going to walk you through and talk about, okay, where's your coffee machine going to go? How do you walk through? Let's imagine it waking up in the morning and living a day in this house. Parking, where your kids are going to play, where you're going to hang your coats or put your shoes at the front door. All of those things about how you're actually going to live in the house are really important tests for you to determine if it is in fact the right property for you or not. And once we get narrowed down, then we get to the making an offer phase. If you find something that you love and making an offer, then we kind of dial back in with conversations with Mark to talk about strategy. How are we going to present this offer in a way that's going to get it accepted, and make sure that we provide a united front to the listing agent and the seller. So we present your offer in the most positive light possible and hope that the seller will choose your offer, especially these days where it's so competitive. These steps in this crafting of an offer and offer presentation are really, really important. And having great partners is the way to win the house that you want.
And that's a good point, Amelia, too. One thing that's important that I forgot to mention when I was speaking before is as part of that initial pre-approval process, when we get through and we've gone through all the loan structure and we've collected all the documents that you'll need for your loan approval, the pre-approval notification that's sent out is we be copying your realtor so that everybody's aware that you are now eligible to go out and start looking for homes because you've completed this financing pre-approval step in advance. So that pre-approval that goes out is good for up to 4 months. So as you're out looking, because especially in this type of market that we're experiencing right now, it might take some time before you find that absolutely perfect home. So understand that even the legwork that you're doing up front on the loan side does last for some time. Now, of course, we'll have to refresh documents if this process gets going a longer period of time. But in most cases, and Amelia, you might be able to speak to this too, on the average, home search, how many weeks or months that might take. And again, the market dictates quite a bit of that. But know and rest assured that this upfront work you're doing on the financing side doesn't have to be refreshed every month or every week. It actually does have a little bit of time, so you're buying yourself a good window to go out and shop. At the end of that 120-day period, which really it comes at the expiration of your credit report. At that point, if we need to refresh the credit at that point, we'll do it on an as-needed basis. One of the concerns that comes up quite a bit from home buyers is the credit pull. Or is this going to be a hard pull on my credit? Or what exactly is that step? So as a lender, when we do pre-approve you, we absolutely are doing a hard credit pull from all 3 credit bureaus as part of the qualifying steps. That credit report date actually dictates the expiration of your pre-approval. At some point, let's say your home search does go beyond that 4-month period. At some point after that, we would have to repull your credit again to refresh the official pre-approval. But rest assured, as long as you're not having multiple inquiries after that credit pull, the scoring will stay relatively the same. I get a lot of questions about, well, I've been told not to have a lot of inquiries on my report. That's true. You want to keep those to a minimum. But what you would lose on that inquiry from the initial report typically is recovered over that 4-month period of time. So you're really basically starting back from square one again. But it happens quite a bit, just a very common question that we get from that side. But as you're out there looking, understand that pre-approval is going to give you several months to get out there with Amelia and find that right home for you.
Have you ever seen a significant, difference, let's say all things being equal, the first time you pull the credit for the pre-approval, and then let's say you have to do it again after 4 months? From looking at just the score, if nothing else has happened with the credit, have you seen any scoring differences?
Very little, if anything. You'll find as long as your credit stays consistent, your behavior stay consistent, then the score stays consistent. Where I see those changes are obviously if there's a delinquency. Like if you go late on a payment from the initial report to the last one, yes, you can expect that there's going to be a hit to your score. If balances change, if you charge more, still paying on time, but you start racking up more debt, especially on your charge cards, your Visas, your MasterCards, that could have a negative impact on your score. But assuming that everything stays equal, your score should be relatively the same.
Yeah, it's a question I get all the time as well.
Yep. Sometimes I even see the score go up. It just depends. But yeah, usually it's not a huge variance.
That makes sense. So after that, we've got the offer stride, and then it's all about getting your offer accepted. One of the things working with Mark at McLean Mortgage that I really appreciate, and this is even in my own home shopping, is using what I call the magic spreadsheet. I love this tool. It's so helpful when shopping with clients, where we can, access it online. I've certainly used it on my phone and my iPad, where we change the purchase price or even change down payment amount. There are just a couple of factors that are changeable, that it will calculate the closing costs as well as your monthly payment. So we can be in a house and pull up your spreadsheet and say, okay, is this a house that works in the budget? Before even talking about making an offer, we don't have to guess at it or even wait to call Mark. We can do those calculations on the fly. So that has always been extremely helpful for all of my clients that we work with Mark together on. I love the magic spreadsheets.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of good feedback from that. It's a relatively simple tool, but I've designed that. It actually it was passed on to me from one of my mentors back in the day, and it's been something that I've carried along my entire career. Oftentimes, as a first-time home buyer, you're going to go online and try and find mortgage calculators or something on maybe Zillow or Redfin, and these calculators are not very good, for lack of a better term. They just don't give you accurate numbers. Oftentimes, they're only giving you part of the mortgage payment, not the full mortgage payment. I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with home buyers that are, when I tell them the actual mortgage payment versus I saw this calculator online and this is much higher than what I was expecting. I said, well, it's probably missing a couple components of the mortgage payment. The 4 main components are principal and interest, which is your mortgage loan repayment. Then the important taxes and insurance, taxes you have to pay the county, and the insurance you have to carry to cover the home. Oftentimes those 2 components are left out of the mortgage payment. So even as you're online looking, thinking you've kept something within your budget that you've done such a good job at meticulously putting together, and all of a sudden determine that, oh my goodness, this mortgage payment is much higher than what we thought. So really important, again, when you're working with a lender, that you get really good numbers and really good information. The spreadsheet, like Amelia said, it can be edited. It's a great tool, especially for budgeting and planning, and really designed to give you a lot of flexibility in seeing the range of prices, because not all homes are obviously created equal, even with regards to those additional costs, the taxes or homeowners association dues or things like that. So as you're looking at all these different properties, this spreadsheet is designed to give you some really accurate numbers to make sure that you stay within your pre-planned budget.
So we hope this has been good information for you, at least how to get started. Of course, Mark and I are both available for further questions. Some things that we often work on and talk about are first-time homebuyer grant programs. They're is a new 2021, possibly 2022 grant program in the works from the federal government, up to $15,000. It's not a done deal yet, but we're keeping a close eye on it. Virginia Housing Department has some excellent grant programs that we can also talk about and help you determine whether you qualify for those. I happen to have a lot of expertise in fixer-uppers and knowing how much things will cost, so that can go in your budget too as we do the discovery part. And any other questions you have about the process.